Alright, it's time to start the current console generation with the first in the set, Sonic the Hedgehog, for the Xbox 360. Unimaginative title, apparently somebody forgot to tell the guy that that one was already taken. Now sadly, I don't have an Xbox 360, so I can't show any gameplay footage. However, I did play the game all the way through, so I can still give an effective review, and I hope you like my drawings. Haha. Alright, so let's start. What's the first thing I can say about this? Oh yeah, it's the slowest Sonic game ever made. It's even slower than Sonic 3D Blast for the Sega Genesis. I'm guessing that that was so that they could show off those fancy background textures that they made, but really that's not going to win any points for me because even though the game is so slow, it still lags insanely when things get just slightly busy. It's like Sonic stuck in Mega Muck or something. But forget about the lag, let's talk about the broken physics engine. Anyone with even an instinctive knowledge of gravity would know that if you throw something in the air, you expect it to follow a ballistic path, as indicated by my dotted line arrow. But in this game, as soon as the forward acceleration of Sonic's double jump wears off, he falls straight down like a stone. And then of course you have other gravity problems like getting stuck on vertical surfaces, or in the case of the vehicles, explain to me, how exactly does a 3-ton war machine flip head over heels when it runs over a pebble in the street? The physics for this game was just horribly broken. And this is probably just a quick nitpick, but the cutscenes were pretty hastily rendered too. In everything except the high resolution ones, Elise's eyes look really glassy and lifeless, and the shadows were really badly pixelated, and this is especially noticeable on Rouge's face. It's like they just threw them together as quickly as they possibly could. On top of the bad physics, let's not forget one of the most severely broken controls ever featured in a Sonic game. You know, simple actions like trying to run around the curve become exercises in Wile E. Coyote futility, as you will die several times because Sonic can't quite grasp the concept of making a 90-degree turn. So you will die and die and die and die when you just keep running off cliffs because you can't steer. Not to mention that it has the buggiest camera I have ever seen, ever. You have to constantly be adjusting it with the second control stick, and then you're afraid to actually reach up and push the action buttons because then you'll lose control of the camera. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And then there's the way characters attack enemies. Amy, Silver, Knuckles, Rouge, Omega, and Tails all lack the basic jump on enemies to attack them attack, which Sonic and Shadow have. But Tails is the one who comes out worst because he has these stupid dummy ring bombs. When you're standing on the ground, he chucks them straight at his feet, so you practically have to be hugging the enemies in order to hit them this way. Also, they have a long range attack, but then they have no targeting sight. The camera orients itself behind Tails, so you can find yourself having to slowly rotate as much as 180 degrees to center an enemy, and then you're either going to overshoot or undershoot because, like I said, there's no targeting sight, so you got to just take a random guess. And the only time these ring bombs are vaguely useful is when Tails is flying, because then he drops them slightly forward and you can actually aim them a lot better. But then, Tails is so ridiculously hard to control while flying that you may as well just jump off the nearest cliff. And furthermore, these ring bombs make the exact same sound as when you're injured and leave fake rings everywhere. So you're never sure if you hit the enemy or if the enemy hit you, although the latter is probably true most of the time. Rouge has a similar attack where she throws grenades that look like purple Pokeballs. I guess I should be calling them pester balls. They suck, but at the very least they follow a predictable ballistic path that are somewhat easier to aim. Ugh. Furthermore, these characters usually have a mission aspect which is to find something like a key or a switch in the level, which is kind of like from Heroes in Shadow the Hedgehog, and again, you're not given a level map or a radar, but this time, it's even worse, because on top of that, the stages are non-linear, so you can literally find yourself wandering around in circles for hours trying to find the goal. You'll also encounter gameplay bugs such as snow that's not slippery. In order to make the snowboard move forward, you have to actively tilt the control stick forward, which, you guessed it, makes steering extremely awkward. You'll also do stupid things like fall through invisible holes in the walls and floor, and encounter some of the most piss-poor hit detection ever put in a Sonic game. You'll find yourself passing through enemies, getting hit by things that are nowhere near you, and God help you if you need to do a light dash across a ring trail, because it never works the first try, and it usually never works the second try. Then there's the hub world of Soliana. It is so huge and so difficult to navigate around that it can take, I am not exaggerating, more than an hour just to find the next level. And it is so easy to die in this hub world, which is supposed to be a safe zone. And then you have loading screens. I mean, let's take an NPC mission in the hub world. You talk to your NPC, you get a loading screen. Then you get a quick 5-second video of the character saying, okay, let's start the mission. Then you get another loading screen. Then you start the mission. Now sometimes the mission has more than one phase, so in between phases, you get another loading screen. Then you finally do the last phase, and you get another loading screen, which shows you your score and results and rank tab. And when that's over, that's right, you get another loading screen before you can finally return to the hub world and continue the game. You think that's enough? I mean, I would expect that many loading screens from a PlayStation 1 or 32X or the Sega Saturn. That's just ridiculous. Actually, I wouldn't even expect it from those systems. That's just insane. Of course, don't get me wrong. I still rather enjoyed a significant bit of this game, mostly Shadow and Silver storylines. For Silver, for example, his psychokinetic attacks are actually pretty well done and can be quite fun to use. I mean, catching a missile mid-flight and then flinging it back at the guy who shot it at you is pretty cool. And with Shadow, you have much more use of his Chaos powers. You can use the Chaos Spear whenever you want, and he has this attack where instead of merely homing attacking, he also beats down and wails on his opponent, which is a great way to relieve stress from the buggy gameplay. Plus, when he charges up his Chaos powers, he gets stronger, but it's not game-breaking because it doesn't make him indestructible and he has no Chaos Blast. And then there's the gameplay aspect where Sonic is automatically running through a level and you just have to steer him past obstacles. That would actually have been pretty cool, kind of like Sonic and the Secret Rings. If the controls were a little better, it could have been the best gameplay aspect. Unfortunately, the controls suck, so it's kind of the worst gameplay aspect. And then there's making use of the full cast in the regular story levels. Unlike in Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2, where each character gets their own storyline or their own level, here they work together to complete them. You'll go through one phase as a character, and then he'll pass the baton on to the next. I thought that was a pretty nice way to utilize everybody while still keeping the game flow smooth. If it weren't for loading screens, that is. Another thing I really liked about this game was that actually it had a really strong story. This is mostly due to the primary villain, Mephiles the Dark, who is probably the coolest villain ever put in a Sonic video game. Aside from the fact that he's named after Mephistopheles, the demon that Faust sold his soul to for ultimate knowledge, when he's introduced, the first thing he does is convince Silver and Blaze, two good guys, that they have to go into the past and kill Sonic. He BS's some story about how it'll save their world, when actually it's the very thing that'll destroy it. He even tries to convince Shadow to join his quest, and tear apart Team Dark by revealing that it was Omega that encapsulated him in a stasis pod 200 years in the future. But, overcoming this literal demon actually gives everybody a lot of character development and makes a really strong story for this game. And let's not forget, Mephiles decides that when he can't go through with his whole demon dealings BS, he just shows up and kills Sonic himself. Literally, just stabs him right in the back. I mean, that's just pretty damn badass. Razor Jin is just a fractured fairy tale character. The Dark Queen was just a misguided youth who was trying to do what she thought was right. But Mephiles the Dark, he's nothing less than a pure physical embodiment of the will to destroy. That probably makes him the most serious villain Sonic has ever encountered. That's the tragedy of this game. There was potential for real greatness, but they decided to release it in November to cash in on quick sales. The following game waited until February and came out much better.